Welcome to OOD Works, the podcast, a show about unique individuals and the services provided by Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the state agency that helps individuals with disabilities find a job and be more independent. Here's your host, Kim Jump.
On this episode of OOD Works podcast, I am pleased to introduce you to Cynthia Shunk of Sylvania, Ohio. She is joined by Don Coleman, vocational rehabilitation supervisor, who had been Cynthia's counselor before being promoted to supervisor. And Cynthia has received support from OOD's Bureau of Services for the Visually Impaired, and we are going to get to hear about her experience getting assistance and support with mobility training and tech support so that she can work independently. So Cynthia and Dawn, I am so glad to have you as guests on the podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're both here. Cynthia, you go by Cindy?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Then it's Cindy. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you always lived in Sylvania, which I understand is also known as Tree City, USA?
Yes, I'm born and raised in Toledo, but I've been a resident of Sylvania since 1986, and I've been blind since about 6 months of age, born premature, 3 months early, weighing 1 pound, 6 ounces. I've learned Braille from an early age, since I was 5, and I went to Toledo Public Schools for their vision class at their school, at one of their elementary schools for 5 years. And the nice thing about living in Sylvania was when I was in the 5th grade, I got to go to my home district school, my home school in Sylvania, where my sister went for 2 years because I was doing so well. And that was a really special thing for me.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
I am currently employed at the law firm of Shear, Green, and Burke, where I am a debt advisor, where I help people come up with solutions to help them resolve their medical debt. I have 2 degrees from the University of Toledo, one, the Bachelor of Arts in Communication and Broadcasting, and a Master of Arts in Disability Studies. When I am not working, I love to read, travel, spend time with family and friends, and listen to music.
Cindy, thank you for that overview. That was excellent. I want to go back for a minute to your younger years, and you had a sister, and you said those 2 years of being able to go to your homeschool were so meaningful. And I bet they were, especially your sister was older than you, probably someone you looked up to. Can you just talk a little bit more about what was that like for you as a young person, especially being blind?
I'm the oldest one of the 2. My sister is younger. When I was at school in Toledo Public, I was in a vision class for most of the day, but then I was mainstreamed periodically little by little. And then when I got to go to my home school in Sylvania, I got to go to that school, and I was mainstreamed all day in with regular students who were sighted. And that was a very special privilege that I earned.
Yeah. Even though you started teeny tiny, you were a fighter.
Yes. And I have been blind since 6 months of age due to retinopathy of prematurity. Because of all the oxygen they had to give me to fight CMV, cytomegalovirus, I almost died from that. So because they gave me 100% oxygen, my retina's detached. I'm able to see some vision. I can see light and dark and shadows because I had eye surgery done in Boston to have that repaired.
Okay. It's also interesting to me that you were able to learn Braille you said beginning about the age of 5.
Yes, 1986, when I was in kindergarten. And I used Braille even in my job. I've used it all through school. I've used it in high school. I used it for math, to do my math problems. I've used it to make labels for things like food item to identify food. I still do today. And I use it even today in my job as a debt advisor in the form of a Braille display They fit below my computer so I can
Oh.
read what I am typing and what Josh has on the computer for me.
Oh, excellent. I'd like to ask more about your job, but first, while we're still just kind of taking a look back, I think it's unique that you have 2 degrees, communication and disability studies. What prompted your interest in those 2 fields?
Yes, communication and broadcasting, as you can tell from this podcast, I am a very good communicator. I
Mhm.
love to talk. I love to get to know people. I always loved listening to the radio, even from the ripe young age of 8 or 9 years old. I've always wanted to sound like that disc jockey in the box, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I wanted to emulate them. I loved what they did. I loved their sound. I loved how they presented themselves on the radio, because being blind and you're on radio, that's a medium where you don't have to look at somebody to enjoy it. You can just listen to it and know, he or she sounds really good. I love that. I want to be him or her, and I want to be the next, whoever on the radio.
Mhm.
So I went to University of Toledo, and I have always had a dream that I wanted to be on the radio. So when I went to UT during my Bachelor of Art program, I got to do an internship for a year where I got to be a DJ for one night a week for 2 hours. I had
Awesome.
assistance with it because I had to somebody help me with the music, put it on. The CD player and stuff was not labeled, but I could tell him or her, here's what I want, track 5 on this CD. Now switch it over. I want track 7 on this one. And then I had to organize my radio program days in advance so I knew what I wanted to play. So the same stuff wasn't repeated every week.
Mhm.
And I called it the Mix Fix, and it was a variety of 80s and 90s music that I grew up listening to. That's what I enjoy, and
Yeah.
I got to do it. And then, of course, we have graduation. We'll get to that in a minute. But I didn't find the job in radio because it's ever-changing medium. I mean, we
Mhm.
didn't have podcasts 30 years ago. That's
Right.
in 93. Never heard of such
Right.
a thing. Now it's so cool. You can go on the internet, listen to anything. I love it. If I go on vacation, I can listen to my home radio station on iHeartRadio.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
really cool to be able to do that.
yes.
So,
And then go ahead. I'm sorry. As far as
well,
my other field, my disability study field.
yeah, that's what I was going to
um,
ask. Yeah.
Sure. That actually happened by happenstance, really. I happened to be at the Toledo Zoo one day. This was in 2005. And I was at ADA Day, which is a disability rights day for people with
Mhm.
disabilities. And they have different booths set up to celebrate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I was volunteering there that day with the
Ah.
Ability Center. And I ran into my counselor at the University of Toledo, who she's the one that helped me with accommodations in class, and I'll get to that in a minute. But she introduced me to a professor that would be my professor for disability studies and said, we want you in our program. Think about it. We'll welcome you in. I joined it in January of 2006. Had I not seen it, because I didn't get a job right away when I graduated, it took me a while. And I'll
Okay.
get to that shortly. But it was like, it was, just, you never know. You be somewhere at the right place at the right time.
Right. You really were. And you alluded to accommodations in college. What were those like for you?
I tell you what, I learned how to be an advocate in high school. My vocational counselor in high school, I started with OOD in high school.
Oh,
And
wow.
he showed me how to learn to advocate, because when you get to college and beyond, when you get to college and beyond, no one's going to advocate for you. No
Mhm.
one's going to say, hey, do you need this in Braille? Your professor's not going to ask you, what can I help you with? Because they're going to treat you like everyone else. And
Mhm.
that's how I want to be treated. And I had to learn to ask the professor, can I see you after class? Give them a letter from it's called the Office of Accessibility back then, where they would help you with note takers. I had note takers in class for me that I got brailled. I would have people, proctors that would write down my test answers for me in a separate room in the office. They would get everything else braille that I requested, but I had to be the one to do it. And going to high school, I went to a group at the Ability Center the year I got out of high school, when I graduated high school at 18. And it was a leadership workshop for about a couple of weeks. And that really showed me. And I learned that, hey, you're your best advocate. So when I went into disability studies, I thought, oh, hey, I can be my own advocate. I can advocate for other people too.
Yeah. You were putting that into place right away, right from the get-go. It sounds like you were passionate about that and advocating, and then also just figuring out strategies that would work for you, like you explained with even your DJ experience and how you were handling the, being able to play the music.
You know what? Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
When I graduated from college the first time with my bachelor's degree, I was like everyone else. What am I going to do? I'm 22. I don't know where my life is going to go. I don't want to be sitting on my parents' couch, But that did happen for a while because I wasn't working yet. And my parents, and they're very supportive, still are today. They told me, try to do things on your own. I went right away. My vocational counselor got me a job counselor right away. I wanted to work on it as soon as I could. I tried applying for jobs in the radio business. Well, when I found out that, hey, it wasn't going to work for me because it's ever changing, people come and go, I didn't think that was the place for me. So even though I say I never give up, I didn't give up. I went a new direction. And I took a year and a half off because I wasn't finding work. And that's when I found out about the disability study program at Toledo, when I ran into that professor that she introduced me to in 2005. That was an open door. A new door was opening, a new path, a new direction, a new light. I saw the light that day. I knew that something had to happen out of this. And I went home. I said, I'm not thinking about this. I applied, and I got in January 2006. So I did that for a couple of years when I graduated in December of 2008, which my Master of Arts degree in Disability Studies. And I will tell you, I forgot to tell you, I lived on campus for my undergraduate and my graduate school years. I wanted to be close to home, but then I wanted to be independent at the same time.
Sure.
And I made lots of friends there. I was scared to live on my own, but I thought the best way to do it to start out slow. My parents were only 20 minutes away. It's funny. My parents thought I'd come home more than I did, but I'm like, I call my parents every other night. Hey, I still here. I still love you. I miss you, but I don't miss you because I like being at college. So, but I still want to check in and say hi and say I miss you. I went to freshman camp that the YMCA had on campus. They had a chapter. And as an advocate, I called the director of the camp of the YMCA and said, I am blind, but I'm coming to camp in a couple of months. Can we accommodate? Can we have somebody assist me with getting food? Helping me to what we're doing. If we're playing games, I want to be able to be included too. They're really good. So that I met friends through them. I joined their YMCA for a while. I met friends through them, and I loved living on campus. I loved living in the dorm. I loved the experience of going down to the cafeteria like everyone else. I loved the experience of doing things, having fun, but being responsible and going to class. And as far as going to class goes, I learned how to get around campus with O&M, orientation and mobility, and that they set up. And I memorized where I was going, and I had a special bus that I took, a paratransit bus on campus to get me to the building where my classes were.
You really had a good system going. It sounds like you really just made it work and it was a wonderful experience for you.
And I also use TARPS today, which is Toledo Area Regional Paratransit Service, TARTA, but it's for the people who have disabilities. And that's how I get to work. I either use them or cab company, and they get me to and from work very efficiently. Yeah.
Wonderful. You got that experience as a young person and really kind of got transportation really under your belt there, figured out.
Again, it's by calling ahead and advocating for yourself. If you want it done, do it yourself, or it isn't going to get done.
Cindy, how about following the Masters of Arts program? What was next for you?
Well, when I graduated from my Master of Arts degree in 2008, I again found myself without a job for a while, and I thought, what am I going to do? I can't live without a job forever. So I thought I was going to get a job in my field. Again, I did not. I found out that my biggest barrier for me was this. How do I get experience if no one will give me experience to do? And I was frustrated. It took me about 10 years total to get my first job. It took a long time. So I thought to myself, well, I got to change another direction. As I said before, I never give up. I just go a different direction in life because life is about twists and turns.
So true.
Take us different places.
Yeah, I like the way you put that.
Oh, thank you. So basically, what I did is I realized that, well, if I'm not going to have a job in my field, I need to get a job doing something because you never know where it might lead down the road. It may be in my field, it may not be, but it's a job. So I started volunteering for a while for a local hospital. I love to be on the phone, so I tried finding stuff at phone work. So I volunteered there. I took calls. I called people to remind them of appointments. I also volunteered at our local Ronald McDonald House charity. You might be familiar with them.
Yes.
Okay. I answered phone for them, and I greeted people that came in, and I directed them to where they had to go. Did that for 3 years, like that. Then my first job comes along. My first job in 2015. I was 34. And I got to tell you, I've had hundreds and hundreds of interviews prior to that job. Rejection. I thought to myself, don't cry over spilled milk. You're going to get your job one day. Everybody, my counselor, everybody was telling me, you're going to have that job. It's going to come along for you. You deserve it. You work very hard. My biggest barrier was, again, I'm blind. Nobody wants to hire somebody who's blind and uses a cane. It's a big stigma. So I got tired of that, and I thought, I'm going to get that job. So when I was at my job interview for the first job that I had as a call center rep, where I conducted customer satisfaction surveys on the phone, she actually said to me at the interview, we're going to offer you the position. I was speechless. I thought, should I be happy? Should I be confused? I was confused. I was happy at the same time. I just didn't know what to say. I'm going to take it. It's part-time, but I'll take it. And I loved it. And I had it for 5 years, and then COVID hit and shut it down.
Okay. What a breakthrough for you to get that. And I mean, Cindy, I'm just so impressed that it's hard to fathom all of those rejections and your ability to stay positive through all that. It must have been tough.
They were nice when I cried, yes. But I don't show it in public, just at home and around family, because it's just frustrating. So I turned to music. I always would turn some music on, some calm music that makes you feel better. And, you know, I love music and exercise. I love to exercise too.
Well, it must have worked for you, because I'm so impressed by that. And so you were able to get, after all of those wonderful volunteer experiences, then 5 years, you said, at that position, some good, solid career experience for you. Yeah. And then COVID hit.
So when COVID hit in 2020, we were all so confused, and we were on lockdown we didn't know how long it was going to be. So I said, okay, I'm going to wait for them to call me back. They're going to call me back. Okay. A month went by. No call, no call, no call. So I followed up with my boss periodically. Oh, we don't know when you're going to come back, but we think you're going to come back. And I thought, I just want to go back to work. So finally in November of 2020, they told us basically, you're done. COVID had a bad effect on the business and we can't have you back. And I thought, okay, I've been ripped, reduction in force. What do? I call my friend at OOD. I get referred back to OOD in October 2020. Ms. Coleman here helped me get me back on track again, being the counselor that she is. And I said, I want a job. I lost my job. This is not my fault, but I'm not alone. How do we get me back on track? I spent about 6 months, well, maybe a little over a year, looking for my next job. Found that one. That was for a cab company here in town. Again, work on the phone. I love to talk on the phone and help people. I knew it wasn't the job in my field, but it was close enough because I can relate to people that use public transportation. And I use it. So I thought, okay, I'll apply to that one. I got that one. I was a customer service rep. I was taking ride orders. I was checking them. I was helping them with whatever they needed. Worked for a while. The barrier with that one was the technology. They couldn't get it was JAWS. It wasn't compatible. It wasn't working as well as they thought it would, and it was frustrating me because I knew I could do the job. But they were very nice people, and they worked with me for a while. But eventually, after about 5 months, they figured 80% of a job wasn't enough. It wasn't working. And they didn't want to have to help me every time. And I didn't want to have to be helped because I wanted to do it independently. And I couldn't. So that job did not work out. But again, I went back to OOD. And Dawn helped me again last summer, about 6 months ago. The job that I currently have is a debt collector. You're probably wondering how I go from getting a degree in disability studies to debt collection. Well,
I do.
As I say, I did not go to school for it, but here I am. So how I found the current job, and I found it kind of right away because I may have, the other job may not have worked out, but I went home and I cried for a while, but then I thought I'm going to get myself back up on my feet and do what I know best, get back into job search mode and find another one. Because when one door closes, another door opens.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yes.
And in August of last August 5th, I'm working with my current job developer, and she called me that morning at 8 a.m. and said, I think we might have a job for you. And I said, okay, what is it? Said, it's in downtown Toledo, it's a local law firm. And the good news is they know all about the JAWS and the blindness because they have another coworker who's blind. And I thought, I want to do this. So I went for the interview that day, got the job about a week later, and I've been employed there for 6 months. And having the other coworker there really helps me because I help him and he helps me. And I'm just doing so very well right now.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna come back to you, Cindy. I've got some follow-up questions. I'm so thrilled for you, but I want to ask Dawn. Dawn, it's neat that while you were in the counselor role with OOD, it's neat to hear Cindy talk about how she knew to keep coming back to OOD. I wondered if maybe you could just kind of speak to that, the fact that it's not like someone gets a job and they're done. Could you kind of share about that from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. So whenever we close a case, part of the things, we talk about a couple different things, but one of them that we make sure that we touch on is that, if you have problems in the future, or maybe they're going to get promoted and they need more training. So I always tell them, call OOD and, we can sort out what we can do to help. So she knew to come back.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. That's a good point. And Dawn, just in case we have listeners who, they heard Cindy talk about JAWS a couple times and you just referenced it, could you just explain, for someone maybe that doesn't know what that is?
Sure. So that's a software that people who are visually impaired use. It's a screen reading software. So it will basically read everything that's on the screen so that they can still use the software.
Great. In working with Cindy, what were kind of the priorities when, these more recent times that she came back? What were you trying to do to be able to support her kind of with where she was at in her career?
Well, we had many conversations in the time that, we've worked together about what would be a really good job fit. And Cindy had talked about the job where she helped with public transportation and for the cab company. And after, she found out that that might not have been the best fit, we kind of talked about what is going to be a good fit. And, we kind of talked and we kind of came to the conclusion that she really liked jobs that more routine in nature, jobs that don't require multiple computer screens up at one time, because with JAWS and you're trying to manage all these different screens, that becomes really difficult. She enjoys, a job environment that's lower pressure, where there's not like where your tasks are timed. And she was eager from the get-go to do any kind of job, and she was willing to try any office job. So we had many conversations to kind of nail down what were the things that she really needed to have present in a job that would make her successful. And when she found the job as a call center interviewer, that job worked really well. And we really, I'm like, gosh, if we could find another job exactly like that, that would work, because Cindy really enjoyed that work. And I think we're pretty close to that, where she's at right now.
Yeah. You have a big smile on your face that doesn't come through on a podcast, but, it's when you hear Cindy talk about, just the challenges and just her determination, and to have you in her court, I know that it's probably very fulfilling for you to be hearing Cindy share how much it means to her to have this job.
Yeah, she's a go-getter. And, when she says, I do not stop, that is the truth. So it's like when she did get all of those, she did get a lot of no's. It was very hard. It's very hard for anyone looking for a job, visually impaired or not, to get a no, right? Yeah. So we had many conversations about that, that you just need one yes. And she just tried to keep her head up as much as she could and to go into each interview confident and advocating for herself. She has a lot of experience. She knows what she needs, and she's not afraid to ask for that. And so she's a very good advocator. And I think she's really grown in her confidence over the years and being able to talk to an employer and to land that job.
Great. Well, Cindy, tell me more about having a coworker that can relate to the, assistive technology you use, and just that must be very special for you in the work environment.
Well, let me tell you something, not only related, but he worked at my last job that we worked at together before COVID.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah,
Great.
so it was really helpful because when I met him again, when my boss, who's my boss now, interviewed me and told me his name, and I thought, oh, I think I know who that is. And then I went in for O&M training that day, and I thought, oh my gosh, we meet again. Like, do you remember me? Cane to cane, kind of thing. Like, oh my gosh, I remember you. And we just get along so well because, for example, if I have a question about something,
yeah,
or I can't get Jive to do something, my boss is like, I'm well aware because Jive can act up with me and him. He knows that if we have any problem to call him over. We've had to do that. Not often. I'm getting better at not having to do that. But there are times when me and him do need assistance, and that's expected in this job because not every employer understands that. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find a place that does.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so happy for you that you've got that supportive environment. In addition to using JAWS, Are you using
Yeah.
any other tools or technology that help you to be able to do your job?
Yes, I'm using the Braille display, which is on the computer, which sits right below my computer keyboard, and it gives an output of a refreshable Braille on it, so I can double check my work. Instead of having to listen to JAWS in my ear, I can read it out loud as I'm looking and proofreading my work. So that really helps me.
Nice.
Very much. And then I also use a regular desk phone, and I also use, as far as like knowing what buttons are which, I mark the buttons that I use the most with locator dots, which I get at the site center, and they help with marking things. I also use them at home. But as far as using the job, I use them for the buttons that I use the most.
Okay. Great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had some time off then there, you know, while you were working on getting back into the workplace. You know, since August now you've been working. How would you say that this new position has impacted your life?
Oh, yes, it's impacted it in several ways, more than one. First, I'd like to say it's impacted my life because it's given me a professional social outlet. What I mean by that is when COVID hit, I was missing people. I was missing getting up and going to work every day. It's a whole routine for me, getting up, riding the bus, seeing people on the bus, seeing your driver every day. I was missing that. So I really enjoy the routine of going to work and going into the office, seeing everyone from the security person at the desk to my coworker to my boss every day. They all say hi to me. You know, good morning. How are you today? You know, have a great weekend. Have a great day. You know, can I help you with something? Just every day, they're so friendly, and I just love that because I love getting out and meeting people, and the people on the phone that I talk to, too. They seem very nice as well. And the other thing is, as far as impacting my life, is basically the idea that I am making a difference, even if it's just for one or two people a day. I am the debt advisor, but I am helping people resolve their medical debt when otherwise they would not have anybody. So I feel like I am really making a difference for them.
Yes.
I'm a great communicator. If you can tell from this podcast right here, I love to talk on the phone. I love to talk with people. I love to help people. I'm using the computer for my written communication, the phone for my oral communication, and I am using my disability studies degree in a way that I am helping people receive what they need and in life. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. But again, I never saw myself as a debt collector, but here I am, and I love where I'm at.
Yeah, and I love how much you enjoy people and that you're getting to interact with people and help people. I can tell that's really fulfilling for you.
You know, getting to know people is just, I can walk up to somebody and say hi, and I don't have to look at them to know, oh, like maybe I don't like the way they look, but I would never have that judgment anyway, even if I could see, because I accept people for who they are, no matter what they are, whether they have a disability, whether they don't. And that's what I want other people to realize that in life, that I wish more people would be as accepting as I am and inclusive as I am. Because to feel excluded is no fun, but to be included, I just love that. It just makes me feel really welcome in society.
Yes. Yes, that's a very good message, Cindy.
And never give up. No matter what you do, never give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like your motto.
It is. I have a bracelet at home. If you could see me, I could put out right now. I have a Braille bracelet that I got before I got my first job when I was 34. And it says, never give up.
Perfect for you. Yeah.
Yes, it is. My mom got that for me. So I love it. I wear it with pride. I love it. It's great. I want to say, but I appreciate all the job developers and the site center and the people that help me with O&M, and also, you know, public transportation companies who have helped me to make sure I get to and from my job safely every day. I wouldn't be able to go to work without that.
Dawn, anything you would maybe want to add?
I would say Tihan Lu was also another big help when I think about your case, and work that we did together, Cindy. He really helped with, getting the computer scripted and, training you on how to use the computer, their software system with the JAWS. And so he was just another person that was part of the team. And I also say her current employer is just really supportive, and that was really nice for me to see an employer that really supports people with vision impairments. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And Cindy was just fun to work with. She did that never give up is the truth. And she always just stayed positive, and she just kept going. And then she got to where she needed to be. So it's been awesome to see, Cindy.
The other thing I wanted to share with you, if people are thinking of considering coming to OOD for assistance, I want to tell them this. It is not easy. It is not easy. You have to want to work, first of all. You have to have a positive mindset that don't give up, because if you're blind or have visual impairment or any other challenges in your life, don't give up, because it's going to take some time. If not, and you also have to do your part. Meaning, if you work with a job developer, job coach, don't expect them to do all of it. Definitely be your own advocate. Tell them what you need. Tell them how you work. Tell them what best pace you work at. They're not going to know unless you tell them. The other thing I notice is, again, as I said, don't expect the job developer to do all of it for you. You are part of your own job search. You know best what you can and can't do.
I'm sure Dawn would echo some of those sentiments, and maybe we could use a soundbite of that.
Yes, that's great, Cindy. I totally agree with you. Yes, and because that's exactly what it's going to take, right? You're right on, and that's exactly what you did.
Don't stop until you sign the dotted line.
That was my line. I know I told you that a couple times.
I like it.
Keep applying until you have the line signed. Yep.
I just want to thank you for this opportunity to do this. I love it, and I love sharing my story with the world, the public, and people who might be thinking about OOD and wondering what's involved. Because you have to be patient too. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity today.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
A transcript of today's episode is available at ood.ohio.gov/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We're on social media at Ohio OOD. Do you have a disability? Do you want a job? We can help. oodworks.com.